Welcome to Intuitive Seek. My name is Mary Train, and as an intuitive guide, energy healer, and meditation teacher, I aim to bring you a grounded approach to all things energy and intuition. Everything I share is with the hope to help you remember how your unique power of intuition is your own greatest teacher. Hello and welcome. Welcome to your Intuitive Week, your energy update for the week of May 18th. I almost said April, but no, we are in May, May 18th, 2026. We are almost at the halfway point of this year, which is wild. I mean, time has just been moving so quickly, but if we look back at the last 4.5 months, so much has happened. And yes, 2025 was such a transformative year, but so is this year. It has not slowed down. And the preparation that many of us went through last year, so much of the changes happening now, last year really prepared us for. And I hope that most of these changes for you are positive and that you are really moving back into yourself and your purpose. And remember that purpose is something that you live every day with everything you do, and not in a pressure focused way, but in a way where we can take it off of the pedestal of finding your purpose. You are doing it, but it's up to us to really make sure that the way that we express what lights us up or what our soul is really on fire for, what our heart is leading us towards, that it is something that we want to do too. And it's not something that we feel like we need to because we should, but we're doing because we're following that desire. So I hope you continue to follow that desire this week and that you are able to find pockets of rest and soothing, tender nourishment. This is the season for it. We're still in Taurus season for a few more days, and it's time to really make sure that you are feeding your heart and feeding yourself, not just with good food, hopefully, but also with everything else that your soul is hungry for, that your heart is hungry for. All the types of nourishment that you know you need. I hope you can do that for yourself this week because as I get into the meditation, there's a possibility for a lot of activity, feeling a lot of that activity. And now I'm remembering from last week the don't get stuck into the drama, refuse the drama, don't be a jerk. Similar energy to this week, not as strong, but a similar, let's not get swept away. But this time, don't get swept away by your own energy. And I'll share more about what that means. So, with these energy updates, as always, trust what resonates, leave the rest, use them as a way to develop your intuitive muscle, to develop the trust you have with knowing what is for you and what isn't. So, take what you need and leave everything else. But I'll share what came through in the meditation, and then I'll share the animal, and then I will share the journal prompts, the writing prompts, ways for you to dive deeper into the energy for the week ahead. So, when I first opened up the meditation, we are still on the shore. We're still on that liminal space. The water is still there. It's not as crazy, swirling, vortexy as last week, but it's not completely still. But this time, the focus, as soon as I opened up the meditation, the focus was not on the water, but on the swirling of energy around us, around and through us. There was such a swirling of energy. It was our field, but it was full, and it was full of patterns and objects. it really felt like our own energetic sea of our potential, swirling, alive, electric, a sea of everything that we desire to create or manifest, if you will, call in, experience, whatever word you enjoy. But the potential, that's what was swirling around us. Everything we desire to receive. It felt so electric in our field, and it was moving. It was not static. It was moving in different ways, and felt like it felt like they were moving in all these different ways, because then each time, wherever it was in our field, like swirling around us, we had a different opportunity to connect with it, to decide what to focus on bringing into reality. And so this was a very strong image in the meditation. And it feels like this week, just after that new moon, that the energy is ripe with potential. That not only is the ground fertile and opening up for blooming, but our energy is too. And I feel like the reason this is important for us to connect with this week is to remember our role in creating and receiving, our role in our experiences. Not all of them, not everything, but in the really pivotal destiny point, purpose-led aspects of our life. That this week we are being asked to create a very clear picture of what we desire to experience. So yes, not only to have, but to truly live it. And that's where our imagination comes in, because the swirling of energy reminded me of our imaginations and the power they hold, how our imaginations can often be potent translators for our intuition. I say this often. Use your imagination as a translator. Trust that you know how. So this week feels like an invitation to reimagine what you desire to experience and connect to with all of your inner senses, all of your technically imaginal senses, all of your senses, but inward, your inner vision, your inner feelings, your inner knowing, your inner hearing, maybe even your inner smell and your inner taste. That portal of energy from last week, that feels like it is still open for us. And it's opening. It's opening for us this week because we were reminded, and this week it's evident, that we are the portal. Our energy, our imagination, our connection to the energy around us, our intuition, our emotions, they are all part of the structure of what we need to travel to our future, which is literally in the next second, the next part of this sentence. We are constantly stepping into the future because it's the present. It was the future and then it's the present. And it feels like this scene of being in the middle of our energetic sea of potential, mouthful, that it's a big kind of snap back into our power, a snap back, a quick reclamation of our power of co-creating our world, and to reconnect to what we truly desire to experience. Because remember, and this is what I feel to be true, that when we live the life that we know is what is meant for us, then we are also fulfilling what is meant for the world. So it's not only for us, it's for everything. And this week, it feels like it's time to bridge your imagination with your intuition and really create a practice to feel with all of your inner senses what you are building, to feel your future, to recognize those feelings in your present so you know what steps to keep taking. Are you feeling more doubt lately? That is a sign to reconnect to your imagination and feel the potential. Feel what your future feels like so that your trust and your desire can be louder than your doubt. That's what I think our higher selves are. It's not some, you know, being of light that sits away from us and has nothing to do with us. I feel like our higher selves are who we truly are without our doubt. We're higher than our doubt. We're higher than our fear. We're higher than our judgments and prejudice. We're higher than all of the things that get in the way of our purpose, of our connection to not only our future, but to each other. So, what does your future feel like? Because it could be your present very quickly. So, could you tell me right now? Would you even recognize it? Do you know how to say yes to the steps towards what you desire? That's what it feels like we're being asked to remember this week. So, this is the week for clarifying your intentions, for clarifying your why. Be certain, and that will be your anchor. When your sea of potential meets the sea of uncertainty, which it will, in our day to day, that uncertainty, I mean, that comes right before that drop weighted depth of doubt comes. Can you anchor into your why so that your sea of uncertainty that you may step into from time to time doesn't pull you away? So that you can really anchor into that why and stay in your potential. Because in the meditation, like I said, we're still on the shore. So for many of us, we may still be in this liminal space, this in between, this very magical, but often frustrating time. Things are still being woven as we stand at the threshold. So don't push yourself, but don't stop either. This is the week to trust your own rhythms, to trust your cycles. And then the next thing that came through in the meditation was a big focus on our breath. I could feel in the meditation that we were taking very shallow breaths, almost like a breathlessness, and that we needed a more full, but not too deep, not like a breath work, but just a paying attention of, like a paying attention to our breath. Fully breathing, grounding into our breath. I could really feel a tension on our lungs. So pay attention to your breath this week. Notice when you are not breathing. Notice when you're holding your breath. Notice when you maybe need to take a really big breath. This is a way to stay within yourself. So when you're not paying attention to it, it could mean that you're quite far away from where you actually are. And then that focus on our lungs, that spotlight in the meditation, that felt like for some of us, this week could be a focus not only on the physical lung, so maybe some care for your respiratory system, some good food, cardiovascular work. I'm not a doctor, so just look up things to help with your lungs physically. But what I was pointing to was that our lungs can also carry the emotion of grief. So maybe for some of us, this week could open ourselves up to feeling grief we've been holding. Maybe you feel like you've grieved, but grief doesn't really go away. We learn how to hold it. So maybe there's part of us this week that need to process a bit more. And I shouldn't even use the word process because really it's just feeling it a bit more, making space to feel. And if it's not from loss for you, the focus could be connecting to maybe regret and the grief for dreams and desires that have not come to pass. Maybe it's important to allow that energy to move, to feel the grief of unfulfilled potentials in your view. Because really, it's not unfulfilled, it might just be not yet. And as you know, as I say often, many people say, it is important to allow our emotional energy to move. Our emotions are energy in motion, as they say. So to feel the grief, wherever it's coming from loss, from unfulfilled potential, from heartbreak, allowing that grief to move makes room. It can make more room for the present and the future, making room for what is meant for you and reminding yourself to trust the timing. Even part of that grief could be remembering that even though, yes, we're co creating, we are not in control of how it all happens. We are not in control of how everything happens. Some things just happen. And usually it's the things we don't want to happen that are completely out of our control. So this week, bring compassion and care to yourself if you are opening up to some grief that you're holding. That may bring you to new, true clarity, to clarity that you have really been seeking, to the why that you thought you would never really connect with. And then the next thing that came through in the meditation was the animal of the week. And right ahead from us as we were, making our way through the sea of energy was a very grounded animal again, also very Canadian, the beaver. So the beaver is here to support us this week. And right away, the symbolism of the beaver, if you can imagine, they're building the dams, they're breaking down the wood, they are so connected to the trees. They are builders, they're the architect. They are the builders of dreams. So the beaver represents the energy of perseverance, building of dreams, courage, trusting the flow, abundance, inspired action, clear vision, momentum, family, problem solving, bringing value, intuitive wisdom, and emotional strength. The beaver is a very powerful animal. The support and the guidance and the inspiration, this is a great animal to have for this week. And the beaver is an excellent swimmer. It can actually hold its breath for 15 minutes at a time because it has extra large lungs, which I love because it came through after I already connected with the lung. So I love how they are already working together. So the beaver has extra large lungs. It can take in way more oxygen and can tolerate more CO2 than humans, which really teaches us about breath again, teaches us about the power of our breath, noticing when we're holding our breath. And let me share this excerpt from Animal Speak by Ted Andrews for a bit more about the beaver to help inspire us. Beavers are master home builders. They perform magnificent feats of engineering in the felling of trees and the building of dams. Tree bark is the beaver's favorite diet, and poplar and aspen are its favorite trees. A study of the quality of these trees may provide you with even more insight. The actual tree felling is accomplished through teamwork. One beaver rests and keeps watch while another chews. The trees are often stored in the dam to provide food throughout the winter. Although some see the beaver as a pest, it actually serves wonderful benefits. Its felling of trees enables brush to grow, thus providing food for deer and moose. Its dams even help make farmlands for humans. A beaver pond will fill with silt. When the beaver leaves it, eventually the dam in the pond will break, and the water drains off, leaving a flat pocket of rich soil. If beaver has come into your life, ask yourself some important questions. Have you been neglecting your most basic dreams? Are your dreams in need of some repair work? Are you or others around you becoming too lost in their dreams, always dreaming and never acting upon them? Remember that the beaver reminds us that we have to act on our dreams to make them a reality. When it shows up, it is time for action. Beaver can show you how to construct wonderful dreams. So, how is the beaver energy inspiring you? What did it make you think of in your life specifically? Really trust that. And even though it didn't say specifically with the lungs in animal speak, I feel like intuitively, because they have such extra large lungs and they can hold their breath for so long, that is a very deep connection to grief, to the emotion of grief. So make sure this week that you're paying attention to how your chest feels, how your lungs feel, how your back feels, how your breath is. If you are feeling the emotion bubbling up, even if it doesn't make sense, don't judge it. Just allow yourself to feel. Allow that energy to move, that energy in motion, your emotion. Just allow it. And you might be really surprised at the clarity, or as the beaver says, the clear vision that can come from that. And now here are some writing prompts, journal prompts to help you dive deeper. Remember, you can always do these on a voice note to yourself too. Very powerful. Oh, a little side note for anyone who loves listening to audiobooks. I just read this research that listening to audiobooks and reading audiobooks light up the exact same part of the brain. Now, I made sure that this was not a paid for study by audible.com, and it is not. It was an actual study, and it makes total sense to me because listening to a story, that's what we've been doing well before any sort of writing came to pass. So, yes, if you do love to listen and you've ever felt guilty that it's not real reading, it is. So don't worry. All right, so back to the writing prompts. So here are 3 prompts questions to help you dive a bit deeper into the energy. Number 1, what is waiting in your sea of potential that is swirling around you? Write down everything that comes to you. No potential too big. And number 2, describe any grief you feel about unfulfilled potential. And then describe how you can shift the label of unfulfilled to not yet. And number 3, what are 2 actions? 2 actions you can take this week towards your dreams. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Intuitive Seek for your week of May 18th. Please feel free to reach out if anything resonated with you or you have any other thoughts or questions. I love to hear from you. You can go to the show notes and I have all the links there to connect. And if you are curious about working with me and how I can support you, I do have one space left available in June for my 4-month journey called The Key. And you can connect with me about that through the links as well. And hugely appreciated if you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you feel called to give a little bit more support, you could leave a review, would be amazing. Or you could share this episode with a friend. That would be so helpful too. So thank you again. Be extra kind to yourself and others. And I will talk to you next week.